Hi, good morning, everyone. So, I haven't been on Facebook like live lately because I've just been busy working, but I have some new exciting things that's coming up, as well as today's topic and what we can do from this point forward. So, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, BYC Become Your C. That is my business page. Instagram, Become Your C. TikTok, BYC Become Your C, YouTube, BYC Become Your C, and my website is all up and running now. It's www.becomeyourc.com. Everything is posted below. And also, if you're ever feeling like you're so overwhelmed or you're extremely sad, depressed, you're contemplating suicide, please do not do that. I know that life can be overwhelming sometimes, and it feels like we need to give up, but there are options and there are people that's willing to talk to you. You have to take the first step. If you know that you're not feeling yourself, if you know that you feel like you can't make it, it's nothing wrong with getting help for your mental health. We go to the doctors when something's wrong with our bodies, and so let's take care of our mental health. The suicide hotline is 1-800-273-8255, or you can visit them on their website at 988lifeline.org. And also, you can text them now as well. Just text 988 and you'll be connected to someone that can talk to you. I know what suicide feels like. I know those thoughts can become overwhelming. A lot of times when we get to the point where we're not reaching out for help when we need it, and this is going to go into my topic today, we start having these sad thoughts, right? Suicide thoughts, and feeling like there's nothing more that we can do. But good morning, Tyrone. A lot of times we take too much, or we put too much pressure on ourselves to become perfect. And I'm going to get into this topic today. So today, this topic that I wanted to talk about is feeling overwhelmed, right? We all have felt overwhelmed at some point in our life, right? We take on too much responsibility, and we're trying to do as much as we can, but at the same time, what we're doing is putting too much pressure on ourselves, and we don't realize it, right? We're supposed to explore life. We're supposed to figure out what we like and don't like. We try to be a better person, participate in groups and activities. We try to help our fellow man. We take on so many different roles, but we don't take time for ourselves. And this is when we come to the point of exhaustion and we start to feel overwhelmed. And so what I've learned over like last year and like even the short time in this year is that we must take the time for ourselves. If we do not, that's when depression starts seeps in. Our anxiety increases, our panic attacks increases. If you suffer from any other mental health issues, that can start to deteriorate. So it's important that when you feeling overwhelmed, you take a step back and you assess what's going on in your life and what you can eliminate so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And I know, like, as grown people, as parents, as partners, as sisters, all these roles, brothers, these roles that we have, um, we tend to take on more responsibility than we realize. And then we feel like if we don't do something, like let's say you join a group and you realize after participating for maybe a few weeks or a month that, like, hey, like, I'm taking on more than I can handle, you feel like you're letting people down. And so you continue to do these activities even though you know that you cannot mentally and physically handle it. And over time, you get overwhelmed. Then you could lash out, you could start to get angry, seep into depression, and you start to isolate yourself. And what happens is that you don't find value in life no more. You become robotic, and everything seems like a routine. And let me say that routine is not necessarily a bad thing for certain things, but we want to be able to enjoy life, get the best qualities out of life. And when we feel like we're stuck in a routine, the same thing every day, that can become so depressing. You start to feel like you're going crazy a little bit, like there's no outlet. Everyone needs an outlet. Everyone needs a break from, I guess, whatever reality that we're in. That's why it's important to create a life that you are excited about, a life that makes you happy, a life that brings you peace. That way, like, that overwhelmed feeling doesn't happen. Now, we're all going to feel overwhelmed at some point in our life. Is just how it goes. What I want you to do is find ways to um, lessen that as much as possible. So, like I said, we take on roles sometimes. Like for me, I'll give an example. Um, I had to take a step back because I think a lot of times, and if you can relate, you feel like you have to be this perfect person all the time. You feel like you have to people please and that you have to um, do things sometimes that you may not necessarily do, but someone wants you to do it, so you do it anyway. I feel like if you cannot put your full self, your full energy, your full intentions into something, that it's best not to do it, because once you do it, you're not going to be excited about it, and you feel like it's more of a obligation instead of doing it with the pureness of your heart. So sometimes we need to take a step back and say, hey, what are we doing? Like for me, um, I found that I had to prioritize or not, or yeah, prioritize and look at what um, I was doing and put what was most important first. When we become adults and we take on these roles, a lot of things get pushed to the back burner. Let's say you're working like two jobs, you got a business, you got children, you're in activities, like you need to take care of your house, and you don't want to reach out for help. So all these tasks become overwhelming. And so what happens is stuff start to crumble. So what can you do to help alleviate that? Well, a lot of us don't want to ask for help when we need it, right? I think we were taught that we supposed to just suck stuff up, and we put so much on our shoulders. Like we're supposed to be strong. We're not supposed to ask for help. We're supposed to be the super person, superman, superwoman. And that's not realistic. Everyone cannot do everything by themselves. We were not built to do things by ourselves, but like that's what we've been taught. Like I was taught that like you have to be as independent as possible and never depend, but it sets unrealistic expectations for yourself. And what happens is you try to become this perfect person that does everything that they're supposed to and do everything right, and trying to navigate through life like that, at some point you're going to just say, just give up, basically. At some point, you're going to feel so exhausted from taking on all these roles, trying to be this perfect person, that you stop doing certain things or you don't give it the best of your ability. I say do as much as you mentally can allow, and then if you feel like you can add more to it, then do so. But you are a priority first. Your mental health, your emotional status, your spiritual, your physical. If you put so much on yourself that you can't even do your day-to-day tasks like cleaning your home or being able to sleep properly. Like a lot of times we don't sleep properly because we're doing so much activity outside, right? Not outside like per se, like outside our home. Sometimes we're doing too much and we're not taking enough time to take a break. So it's important that when we do accept roles, that we know that we have space in our life to allow it. Now, you got to figure out what's important to you, right? You know, you got to take care of your household, and if you have children, you got to do that. Okay, that's important. So you have to make time for that. you have to work. If you have your own business, you got to make that time for that. If you like to go to the gym and work out, you have to make time for that. So now we're going to get into like the extracurricular activities that we do outside of our home and our like immediate life. All right, you want to participate in groups and stuff. Do you realistically have time to fit that in to your schedule? If you do, okay. I like to stay busy. I think it's important to know yourself as well. For me and my mental health, if I sit long enough and not do anything, my thoughts start to overtake what's reality. So I try to stay busy so that I don't seep back into depression. So you got to know yourself. You got to know what you can handle. And at the same time, knowing when to say, hey, like, I can't take on any more tasks. I'm going to take a step back. Like, I want to help, but at this point in my life, like, I cannot. And that's okay. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to tell people, say, hey, like, I can't do this, because we don't want to let people down. But at the end of the day, like, who's going to be there for you when you're like sitting up late at night because you can't sleep because you're just thinking about everything that you have to do the next day? And I think a lot of people don't realize, like, when we take on a lot of different roles, it does affect us when we come home. Right, we're constantly thinking like, oh, what I have to do the next day. We're up late at night thinking, no, we have to get up at 5 a.m. So now it's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, and we're still not getting proper sleep. Now, when you don't get proper sleep, it affects everything about your next day, right? Your mental status, your emotional. You tend to eat more when you do not get proper rest. So it's important to know that when we make one decision, it affects our whole lives. And I know that we want to be involved, right? We want to do everything, like, if that's in you to do. Like, I want to do this and that, but at the same time, you got to realize that we can only do but so much, and it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to or want to do things, but you know you physically and emotionally can't. And a lot of times, let's say you want to belong to groups, but you physically can't. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy. If you have money, you can always donate. Like, I think we can do something, but we don't have to do everything. We don't have to be this picture perfect person. I think a lot of times we feel like we need to, right? And this takes some time. We have to realize for ourselves that um, we got to know that what we want and what we desire and what we need, right? And for me, I had to take a step back. And one, like, I wasn't giving myself enough time for myself. Um, like, I work like almost 7 days a week. And good morning, Brian. I work 7 days a week, and I am a parent, and I have my business, and I'm trying to do other stuff. And I had to take a step back and was like, I need to give a day, at least once a week, where I do something for myself just to take the pressures off the world. And that could be something simple as taking a bubble bath, simple as sitting down and watching a movie with yourself, writing, maybe going for a walk. If you like to drink, maybe go to a restaurant, have a nice drink, do something that takes your mind off of the pressures of the world, because the world is evolving and it's moving, and it's not going to stop because of you. So you just got to find a way to exist in this reality. There's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself. And I think people need to realize that, like, we can't be 100, we can't be road runners 100% of the time. And I think we feel like we owe it to people to be that way. And we can't, there's no way to exist. We're not, again, robots. And realizing that you're important too, and that you matter, and you're a priority. Like, I think we need to take care of self first, and it's not selfish to take care of yourself first. Actually, when you take care of yourself first, you can give your full self to everything else. But if your mental health and your emotional health and your spiritual and your physical health is not aligned, you can't give your fullness into anything. Start the day off. A lot of times we like wake up late, which can happen, but like we start the day off like on the wrong foot, and now we're rushing, and that like when a little situation happens, it becomes overwhelming. Now we're um more stressed out than we were. I say start the day off or write down the night before. I started doing this. I plug everything into my phone, everything that I have to do for the week, even bills that need to be paid, so that I don't even have to worry about it. Because a lot of times we sit and we trying to figure out what we have to do this day. We need to start planning ahead. If we know that that's going to take some pressure off of us mentally, plan ahead, write it down, plug it in your phone, write it on paper. I write stuff on papers, I plug it into my phone, I set reminders. That way that I don't have to worry about what I need to do for the next day. Because I know that most of the time I'm going to forget it unless I have a bill due. Now I'm worrying about like paying late fees and all this. Just take some of the pressure off of yourself. Yes, it's going to require you to do some adjusting. That's fine. Making things a little bit easier momentarily may feel out of place, but it's going to help you in the long run. So when you have your day set in the beginning, right? I'll wake up in the morning. I know what I got to do. Bam. And then you also have to learn how to go with the curve as well. And this means that sometimes we can have a plan and something might happen to intercept that plan. So now what do we do when this interception happens? So we got to know, not necessarily have a backup plan, but we got to like accept things in the moment sometimes. Okay, let's say you have a plan to do such and such and something happens. So I say always breathe in the moment and then figure out, okay, so this happens when I was planning to do this. So now what can I do? I belong to this group and we're reading this book and it talks about being consistent with your goals and planning out your life. And to take some pressure off myself, I decided to break up my cleaning schedule, less time, like 3 days a week. Yeah, so it wouldn't be so overwhelming. But what happened is that I found that it didn't work because things always seem to happen. And so I had to make an adjustment, which was okay. It's okay to have a plan and then make adjustments as you go. Because like I said, life happens and sometimes stuff happens beyond our control. So what we have to do is learn to roll with the curve. I wanted to say something because I know like with the stresses of the holidays, people was overwhelmed, worrying about whether they were going to have enough, and even like day-to-day lives, like especially with the cost of living now, and people feel so overwhelmed about what they can do. The only thing you can control is what you can control. If you cannot control anything, we can't worry about it. And I try to focus on this every day. Yeah, I do. I still struggle trying not to be able to control everything. It's hard, but making efforts every day will make the problem lessen. You got look over your life and what you need to do for yourself, and your goals and stuff and your intentions, and what you can control about them, the things that you can change so that you can evolve. You can do something about it, and you make a plan to do something about it. And this book that I'm reading, it's called Atomic Habits, is really good. It talks about how to break those bad habits so we can create the habits that we want to make last long term. So what I read that's important is mastering the first 2 minutes of a new habit so that it can be consistent long term. So whatever you're trying to do, trying to change, it's not going to happen overnight. You got to give yourself grace and give yourself time for it to become part of what you're doing. We're not in a race. with each other. I think we think that we got to prove something to someone, and we have to do things um, immediately. We don't. Changing requires consistent efforts each and every day. And again, when you suffer from mental health issues, every day is not the same, right? So you got to take each day as it comes. And it's important to realize this. I do have plan for every day and how the day is going to go. But I also do know that I don't know how I'm going to feel day to day. And so when this happens, I try to give the best that I can in each and every day. And for you, you got to do that for yourself as well. You only can give what you can give in that day. And sometimes you may only be able to operate at 50%. But if that is all that you could give that day, then you had a great day. Life is not going to always go the way that we want to sometimes. And I think it's important to understand that, especially trying to assume these extra roles that we know that we cannot fit, or that it's going to add stress to our mental health. Our mental health is the most important thing. And when you suffer, and sometimes it's good though to like participate in groups, because I think it can actually help when we stay somewhat busy, but you got to know when to put a stop to everything. We don't have anything to prove to anyone. We don't have to be this perfect person. That is draining. It drains our energy. It drains our purpose. We have to make time to take care of ourselves if we want to enjoy the benefits of life and the time that we have here on earth. Like a lot of us don't realize, or maybe we do, that we are limited in our time on earth. And whatever happens after that, we don't know. So we want to make the most out of it that we can. And that's what mostly I wanted to share with everyone, is that I know that we feel overwhelmed. Life is overwhelming and it's stressful, like in the roles that we have assumed. It takes so much out of us, but you gotta prioritize yourself. You gotta know what you could give energy to and what you can't. Don't take on so many tasks to try to be this person that can do everything, that you're suffering in the meantime. Like, yeah, it's really important, I believe, to do something in life that benefits other people. I do believe that. I believe we were put here in order to help others with our gifts. um but it's important to know when to stop. I had an aunt that raised me that she used to do so much, right? She used to be involved in church. She would belong in sorority. She tried to do as much as she can. Um, and as she got older, it started to affect her. So she had to slow down. She had to make herself slow down just a little bit, but she still ran around a lot. So it's important that you know yourself and you know what you can do. There are so many things that you can do within the realm of your mental health that actually will enhance it. Just when you do things, ask yourself, is this going to benefit me? And like, not that that's a selfish thing, but is it going to benefit me in the way that I can allow it to have space in my life and that I can give what it needs in return? Whatever you want to do, again, you want to be able to put full good intentions and your full self in it. And if you cannot give 100% of yourself in a situation, then I don't think you should take on that role. um we all have lives, and we all have things that we have to do, like take care of our house and take care of our children and work and all this extra stuff. We have to do that. And so anything outside of that, we have to really sit and ask ourselves, is it possible that I can take on an extra role? Or is it going to come to the point where I despise it, or now I'm doing it just out of obligation and not because I really want to or I enjoy it? You don't have to put on a show or pretend that everything is so perfect in your life, that everything goes well, just to prove something to somebody. Or sometimes we assume roles to take the pressure off ourselves, to not work on ourselves. I think sometimes people do so many things because they don't want to work on themselves, right? They portray this one side of ourselves, like we're this way, but in actuality, behind closed door, we're a completely different person. I know people that do that, right? They take on these roles and just to show people, like, hey, I'm really this person, and on actuality, they're not. Take time to work on yourself first before you start to try to do much of anything. And through your healing process, it'll lead you to what you need to do. I feel like when you begin to heal yourself, you know your purpose and you know your gifts. And then when you pray and you manifest, you get aligned. Like, opportunities will present themselves and you'll be aligned with things that are on your path. But what happens is we don't listen to our inner voice enough. We don't listen to God enough. We don't listen to the universe or our ancestors enough. We try to think that we know it all, and not saying that we don't. We know what we know, but we have to take guidance from above. Because I know I've seen this work in action. When we take a step back and take time to listen to ourselves and heal ourselves, and wondering why we do certain things and why we are who we are, we'll start to hear that voice and say, hey, like, I need to focus on this. Like, last year I tried to um try at this one job because, we need money to survive. We need money for certain things, and I kept trying to do it, but I felt the energy of God and the universe and the spirit of our ancestors say, hey, we're not going to go this way. You need to focus on this. You need to continue to do this path. Every time I tried to divert and do what I wanted to do, because I wanted immediate results, it always diverted me back to what I needed to do. So it's important to, yeah, I think we should do what we want and what we desire and need, but it's important to also listen to guidance as well. Not saying that we don't know what we want and need for ourselves, but I think a lot of times, like, we want immediate um, gratification, and we don't realize that we could be doing more harm than good. Um, and that's all I wanted to mostly say to each and every one of you. Like, I want people to realize that, yes, the feeling of overwhelmness is inevitable. It's a part of our lives. Like, we're going to feel overwhelmed at some point in our lives, but I want people to realize that you can lessen that effect by not taking on roles that you necessarily don't have time for, or that it's going to affect your mental health. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. Um, it's okay to take on certain roles if you know it's going to help your mental health. But if you cannot give 100% in whatever that you're doing, why do it? Why go in things half, you know? Um, and then always make a plan for yourself. Make a plan for what you want to do, what you want. I I think it's important to write down your wants, needs, and desires, and your goals. And always, when you reach goals, you can adjust it. When life happens, um, sometimes you gotta readjust your goals, and that's okay. We're constantly learning, constantly evolving, constantly looking towards the next step, and we're supposed to. What we're not supposed to do is keep allowing things to stress us out, or keep taking on more responsibility than we can handle. Um, we know ourselves, and we know what we're capable of. Excuse me. I say, when you pray and manifest and meditate is so important, that we know what we're supposed to be doing, right? And believe you me, I know that God won't give you more than you can handle. I know that um, sometimes life can be overwhelming, but if you know your purpose and you know your gifts, those things that you do won't affect your mental health. you got to know yourself, and you got to sit with yourself. You got to heal. You got to know what is a priority, and you also need to take time for yourself every week. I say every day. Like for me, I like to exercise almost every day. That gives me my 30 minutes of calmness and peace, and it sets my tone for the day. Give yourself time to heal, time to take care of yourself, and then start adding stuff that enhances your quality of life. Participate in things that are aligned with who you are. Participate in things that benefits you and also benefits what you're doing. Don't just do something because it pleases someone else, or it looks good on paper, or it looks like you are this magical person. You don't have to be perfect for anyone. We're not created perfect. We are imperfect people just trying to become the best that we can. And that's all we can do for ourselves, is to become the best that we can each and every day. And that happens when we sit and we meditate with ourselves, and we constantly ask ourselves questions like, hey, like, what's going on? Check in with yourself every day so that you know where your mental health status is. Every day is not the same, and it's not supposed to be. So make sure you give yourself the grace to just breathe, for a moment. I want to thank everyone for watching, and don't forget to share if you have any questions about mental health. I use a holistic approach dealing with mental health and everyday living using the chakra system. Chakras are energies in our body, and when they are not balanced or aligned, they cause real physical illness, real physical symptoms, and it can make our life chaotic. My goal is to just help people realize their true identity using like the holistic approach, and through everything. Like for me, it definitely has been a journey. It's not for the faint of heart. At times I have been challenged, but every time I beat that challenge, I become out to be the best person I can. And that's what I want for you. I want you to become the best person that you can with your time here on earth. I want you to dig deep, and everything that happens is not just mental, it's not just physical, it's not just emotional, it's spiritual for me as well. And I believe it's spiritual for you as well. A lot of times our answers are within, but we are afraid to seek the spiritual side because we feel like it's strange or it's not important. Every aspect of ourselves will help become the best version of ourselves. So if you're interested in talking about the holistic approach, if you're interested in talking about mental health, feel free to reach out to me. Again, if you ever feel like you're suicidal or way overwhelmed, please reach out to the suicide hotline at 1-800-273-8255, or you can visit them on 988lifeline.org, and they have text options available at 988. Please don't feel like that's an option for you. There are many ways to help. You don't have to go the traditional route. That's why I say holistic can definitely help. YouTube has a lot of great meditations that I use on a day-to-day basis to help me just to stay balanced some days. Also, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, BYC Become Your C, Instagram, Become Your C, TikTok, BYC Become Your C, YouTube, BYC Become Your C, and my website is now up and running at www.becomeyourc.com. Also, if you are around, I will be showcasing my new items that I have to help you on your journey towards self-discovery. I have 2 books available. One is called Become Your C, 21 Poems to Ignite Your Spiritual Journey. The other one is called I Feel Everything. My experience and my version of what the chakras mean to me. These books will be available at that event. Also, I'll have my new bracelets, my new necklaces. I have different items for sale as well to help you and enhance your spiritual journey. I believe everything is set on intention. Whatever you want, whatever you need, you manifest it. And these items are just to help you along the way. Again, that will be this Wednesday, January 11th. I'll be available 12 to 4 at 600 Avenue of the States in Chester, Pennsylvania, where I will be showcasing all of this. And again, if you need to talk, feel free to reach out. Don't let your mental health take you to the point where you feel like you don't want to be involved in this life, or that you don't want to exist, or that it takes you from yourself. You belong here and you matter. And each day I want you to realize that if you don't tell yourself you love yourself enough, do it, so it'll enhance the quality of your life. No matter what you've done, no matter the mistakes you made, no matter if you feel like you're 100%, you're perfect just the way you are, and if you feel like you need to change or enhance that, it's okay to say, hey, like, I need to do something different. Life is a journey and it's about evolving, and we need to evolve so that we can become the best version of ourselves. That's what life is about, to become the best version of ourselves and to be able to give the gift that we have been given from above. We each have a gift and we each have a purpose, and let us live out that purpose. Don't be overwhelmed to the point that you don't recognize your own face. Till next time, fall in love with yourself so the world can fall in love with you.